but Trent Williams spoke to the media, and about Deebo Samuel, they've spoken a lot this season. Trent has offered him advice when asked. He said he's grabbing the situations by the horns now and showing how mature he is by showing up. I think that goes a long way. And keep in mind, this guy, Trent Williams, who's talking to Deebo, is a guy that has a very good relationship with Kyle.
And he went to, I would say, some contentious stuff with a previous team about like almost quitting football.
Yeah, like, hey, bro, this could be a lot. Trust me, this could be a lot worse.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the Commanders?
Like, hey, Trent, what was it like to walk away?
You ever met Dan Snyder?
Trent did it.
He quit.
Yeah, Trent did it.
Part of it
walked
was
away.
He had a cancer scare, but I think the football team drove him to quit.
But he's kind of a mixed Deebo, Aaron Donald. Like, he was just going to retire if he didn't get what he wanted. Trent.
He hated him because they sucked. Yeah. Hey, Deebo. Are you friends with Terry McLaurin? Because you should give him a ring if you aren't. I can get his number for you. Ask him what it's like to play. Like, because I do think it helps that they're friends and he can put it like in legitimate perspective. Like, bro, you got it pretty fucking good. And we talked about months ago, like the conduit for this whole thing for Kyle could be that guy, right? They are very close. They went to a Warriors game together. They walk out together. They are clearly kind of kindred spirits. Maybe just because they're so sweet at their job. And Trent really gravitated toward him. And this gets back to Kyle's relationships. I'm telling you, I saw it with Andy Reid for so long. Andy could always overcome weirdness because of his relationship with a guy. And that is, I think McVay has that too. And that is I would say that's going to be moving forward as money gets crazy in this day and age. It's why so many teams, I think, kind of like try to hire that type guy. Ultimately, shouldn't that be Cliff's point of difference with Kyler? Like their relationship, in theory?
Kyler might make it hard, but yeah, in theory.
Well, that's Cliff's guy.
It might be that nobody has that relationship with Kyler, right?
Well, you probably shouldn't draft a guy number one. I mean, I didn't have
a choice, it would. No, but you're right. I mean, you might have just drafted the wrong guy. I mean, Trent Williams would be telling Deebo, Kyle has made me very rich. Well, Trent made himself very rich by being the best player in the game.
Well, what ultimately, for example, and everyone, if you enjoyed football, like watching Russell play for Seattle was fun. Like they were a very, very enjoyable franchise to consume for the last 7-8 years. But the reason that deteriorated, let's call a spade, was the head coach and his relationship. Wouldn't you say that's where it started? It was always the conversation. Pete and Russell, the offense, Pete and Russell. And Pete was like, our relationship's good. Clearly not. Like, you guys are not on the same page. Pete might be difficult. Russell might be difficult. Well, fucking Kyle's difficult. You know, I mean, a lot of guys are difficult in this league. For whatever reason, though, Russell Wilson is not on Seattle. I think it starts and ends with Pete Carroll. Now, there might have been other factors, but like that relationship went sideways. And ultimately, they don't have an owner or whatever, but like if you and I own the team, like as we were evaluating Pete this year, it'd be like, well, fuck, I'm looking around the league. Some of these guys figured out like the best player in the history of our franchise and our head coach ultimately didn't get along. Like think about that. If Russell Wilson loved Pete, they would have found a way to get him more throws or whatever ultimately wanted. He would have been a Seattle Seahawk for life. You know why?
They would have listened to him more, right?
Because most players, if they're not have a major injury or get super old, are on their team for life when they're good, when they're as good as Russell Wilson. So, like, it just shows you, and I'm not trying to, like, blow Kyle here, but, like, that matters in this whole situation. The relationship with your star players. It's not the NBA, because ultimately, as Kyle said, I'm not accumulating friends. Without saying it, like, I'm still the boss, and if we want to make a change, we'll make a change. But, like, it's still a pro sports league where you're better off with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce than you are with, like, Daniel Jones and some scrub. Like, you need star players to win in the NFL. Like, Andy wouldn't have been to 4 straight NFC championships and been to a couple Super Bowls if he didn't have star players. So you do have to acquiesce and work with them. And that's what I would say most of the best coaches, you could argue in league history, Bill Walsh to Jimmy Johnson to Mike Holmgren to even Bill. Like, clearly Bill could resonate with Gronk and Brady when he needed to. And if you can't, you have no shot. And Pete, he's going to learn a lesson this year, right? It's especially if it gets ugly. I mean, honestly, it could cost him his career. Now he
Well,
is 70 years old, so he's in his
I mean,
career.
it cost him his job, but his career has been made. But I mean, to your point,
But I mean,
his
could it end
signature's been,
if Pete Carroll's fired? Would he be a head coach in the NFL ever again? I would probably lean no.
if he wanted an NFL job, I think he'd get another one.
You think so? At
Not a
71
great
years
one.
old,
I think somebody would hire him.
you're
He
probably
had a lot of success. There's a lot of bad coaches getting
You're
hired.
probably right. You're probably right. Like, why would you hire Joe Judge or Matt Patricia if Pete Carroll could just get you a couple years and get your ship pointed in the right direction, right?
Like, how old was Mike when he got the Washington job?
Not as old as 71. I mean, how old's Mike
Yeah,
Shanahan
he
right
wasn't
now?
that old. 71, maybe.
I'd say so.
Maybe
that was
less.
decade.
Feels like he's younger than Pete, but
He is
maybe not.
69 years old.
Okay.
So Mike, late 50s,
right on.
59. There's a big difference between 59 and 72, right?
There is, and he did not get another job, but he happened to be coaching the Washington football team. But what I was going to say is, for Pete, his signature was culture, and his culture has fallen apart.
When you say Bobby Wagner,
they got all the expensive rich guys out. Yeah, they got all the rich guys out of there because they needed to reset the culture. Where Kyle actually does a good job with the rich older guys too, in addition to the younger guys. Ultimately, your best players are going to be your richest guys, and probably your late 20s, early 30s guys,
and your most powerful
eventually,
guys when they
if you've had
in the
success.
media. Yeah,
you're exactly your most. Yeah,
who loved him immediately when he got here? Joe Staley, right? Loves him. Kyle tries to hire him, and he won't take.
Joe
the
had
job.
been through some shit. Joe was ripe for a good relationship. And look, I think it says a lot that you're right. We don't need to talk about John.
What about the Bobby? Think about the Bobby Wagner situation.
That John thinks that Kyle has a good handle on things says a lot. John Lynch thinks that, right? Because John Lynch was a player on a team that needed a lot of help in terms of just personalities.
Think about the Bobby Wagner situation that, even they had to admit, like, we fucked up. I don't know if you're allowed to fuck up on a guy of his stature, right? Like, ultimately, when Joe Staley was going to decide.
How do you not know how to handle that situation?
Because they clearly struggle at it. It's not even debatable at this point. They really struggle at it.